Deep learning is the topic of this lecture. This is the term which is most popular in the areas of image processing, signal processing, and many other areas. In all modern advances and emerging applications of science, engineering, and technology, everyone talks about deep learning, deep neural network. Deep learning is used in driverless car, in robotics, industrial robots, medical image diagnosis, and numerous other applications. This deep learning we are introducing here as an overview of deep neural network, which is useful for computer vision applications. So our discussion on deep learning is limited to the computer vision scope only, because this lecture we are talking about in context with computer vision, and in previous lectures we have seen that we have discussed a number of components of computer vision, that is training, machine learning, artificial intelligence, feature extraction, classification, classifiers. So this is one important a type of machine learning method that makes computer vision very powerful, and therefore we are discussing an overview of deep learning for the computer vision applications. So as you know, deep learning, when we talk about deep learning, there is a term deep. Sometimes it's also called as structured learning. Deep learning is also known as deep structured learning, which is emerging method of machine learning based on AI and representation learning. The ability to represent, the ability to structure and represent the information within itself is the capability in deep learning, is the capability in the deep neural network. There is a term deep. See, we know that deep learning is actually deep neural network, which is a type of machine learning. So we call the learning using deep neural network as a deep learning. Now, the point is why it is called as deep. It's because of most important point, which is related with number of hidden layers. Because when we discuss about neural network, ordinary neural network, we know that it has one input layer, one output layer, and there are some hidden layers. And in ordinary neural network, we also know at the same time that we cannot increase the number of hidden layers uh, more than 2 or more than 3. Means multiple hidden layers. Many hidden layers are not possible to accommodate, not possible to design in ordinary neural network. We can, of course, but the processing time, the computation time is so large that it may take 1 week, many days for training a data, for understanding a data, and therefore the name called as deep means there are many hidden layers. There may be hundreds of hidden layers which are possible in the deep neural network, input layer, output layer, and there may be multiple layers between input and output layer. So you think about sometimes when we are, in the discussion and thinking mode, so we say that, oh, let me go to deep thinking, right? Or deep sleep. So it means it's a depth learning. Depth learning means you have more number of hidden layers. So therefore we are including the term deep learning. It has depth. Depth means more number of hidden layers are there between the input layer and the output layer. Like neural network and other types of machine learning, this deep learning can also be of supervised or unsupervised type. We have seen that what is supervised and what is unsupervised. In supervised, input and output both are labeled, the responses are labeled, so we can attempt in reaching the labeled output. But in unsupervised, the response is generally not known, the input is labeled, So based on prediction, based on the input label data and the prediction, we try to obtain best possible outcome, best possible response. So this discussion on supervised and unsupervised classifier or the learning we have already had in the previous lectures. So the point here is deep learning can also be of both the types, supervised as well as unsupervised. Deep neural network architectures, there are many examples. There are some examples mentioned here: recurrent neural network, recursive neural network, there is one more, and then convolution neural network. So everyone talks about CNN when it comes to deep learning. So whenever ordinarily people talk about deep learning, the first of all something comes in mind is convolutional neural network. It's very popularly used in different types of research papers, methods, implementations, case studies, and applications. Convolutional neural network, and this deep learning is used in, as I told you in the beginning in the outline of when I was presenting outline of the lecture, that numerous applications, there are hundreds of different applications where deep learning is finding its major role in these days in all modern advances. So it's used in computer vision tasks, and computer vision is not a single application, it's a broad term which includes again enormous number of applications. So it's used in computer vision, machine vision, speech recognition. When we say speech recognition, it's a part of computer vision. So speech recognition, speech translator, natural language processing, natural language translation, NLP, medical image diagnosis, medical image analysis, drug design, drug discovery, bioinformatics, self-driving car. There are a number of applications where driverless car, when it deals with huge amount of the data when the car moves on the road, and then it faces huge amount of data related to trees, related to travelers, related to different types of vehicles, related to different types of different conditions of roads, and so on. And all those are captured through a number of sensors, and those data, which is huge data, is trained, is learned by the neural network called as deep neural network, and the type of learning then we mention as deep learning. It's just because of the architecture that it has more number of hidden layers, and therefore we call it as deep neural network or deep learning. This is one ordinary example of machine learning or neural network based learning, that how does neural network train itself, how does it learn. So you see here that the two inputs are given to different nodes. In the input and the hidden and the output layer, there are different nodes. In the biological neural network, in our human brain, we know that each node is a neuron. So neuron is represented as a node in the artificial neural network. This is not natural neural network, this is artificial neural network, and there are many nodes which are structured in different layers. So input layer will have certain number of nodes, output layer will have certain number of nodes, hidden layers will have certain number of nodes. So whatever is the input that goes to different nodes, there the node will apply certain activation function, which we have discussed in detail in neural network. There are different types of activation functions: linear, nonlinear, sigmoid, exponential. There are different types of activation function. Accordingly, the input which is received by the node will get modified, will change, and then when the outputs which are produced by a node, that those outputs then again can reach to the different nodes of the next hidden layer. So the arrows which are connecting here, which are connecting the node from first layer to a particular node of second layer, each arrow, each path has certain weight, and that weight has an important role in the neural network. So those weights are multiplied by the responses of nodes, and then that sum is given to the next node in the next layer. And how adaptively neural network trains itself, how adaptively neural network learns, it's because of the weights can be updated, weights are adjusted. So by modifying, by updating, by adjusting the weights, we can get different values of responses which we are obtaining. So until we obtain desired response, until the error between the actual response and the desired response is minimum, we keep on modifying, we keep on updating the weights, and the neural network is said to be in training mode, in learning mode, and then we finally somewhere converge and we'll get the final response. So given a large data set of input and output pairs, the deep learning minimizes the difference between predicted and expected output. What is expected is the desired. Predicted is based on our prediction model, prediction rules, activation functions used. We will obtain certain response, but there is some expectation that this what we are expecting to achieve, but there will be always difference. So until we reach to the minimum error, minimum difference, we'll keep on modifying, we'll keep on training the network until we get the response which is very near to the expected response or expected output. This is one example of rather a comparison between ordinary machine learning. You can say this ordinary machine learning is employing an ordinary neural network, whereas there is a deep neural network where it can be seen that there are two hidden layers. There is one input layer, one output layer, there are two hidden layers. So you can see in the ordinary machine neural or machine learning method, there is an input, that is image. We know that all computer vision, especially object recognition and detection methods, they utilize certain features of the image, and therefore those features are extracted. So suitable method will be used in order to extract the features, and those features will be given as the input to the neural network, and then this system, the machine learning system, the machine vision system, can classify, can detect, and can recognize what this object is. There are so many objects, it can classify, it can differentiate between the number of objects. But in the deep learning, what we can see that in the deep learning, there are more number of hidden layers. And what is important is extraction and classification. They're not two separate methods. Of course, the features can be given to the deep neural network, but generally, deep neural network does not require a separate feature extractor. It can extract as well as by training those, by learning those features, it can classify the objects on the basis of extracted features. That is one added advantage, biggest advantage in the deep neural network, or what we call as deep learning. Now, what is important is how does it learn? How does it learn? So it learns just like a neural network. A neural network is used to find associations between set of inputs and outputs. We know that there is an output layer, there is an input layer, there are hidden layers. So what does neural network do? How does it train? So it always tries to associate. It always attempts to associate input with the output. So that association, that relationship will form the rules, will be governed by certain rules, will be governed by certain activation functions and bias values. And those associations, those relationships, govern the entire architecture, and accordingly for a certain set of input, for certain set of input values, we'll get a particular response. So learning is just like a neural network where the outputs of the different nodes, they move to the next layer, and they move to either all the nodes or some selected number of nodes in the next layer. There again operation will perform, and their responses will move to again the nodes of next layer, and this is how we keep on obtaining the responses until we reach the final output layer. We can get the final response from there. This is how a deep neural network learns. This is how a deep learning simplifies the learning mechanism, and that too efficient learning, efficient handling with large amount of data is made possible by the deep learning. As you can see that there is an input. An input, there are hundreds of images. Look at here. In input, there are hundreds of images. Say there is a biometric based application where in a certain application or in a certain environment, maybe an organization or the university, there are thousands of people. who are authenticated, registered users. That registered users may include faculty members, students, other employee of the organization or the university. Now, while entering every day, the security, the authentication can be implemented. That whether the authenticated person is entering, who actually is entering, all these are possible in face recognition and identification. So there are thousands of faces. Now, how the neural network will train all those huge number of images, and that too each image is not a single pixel. It has thousands of pixels. It has kilos, megas of pixels, thousands, millions of pixels it has. So how will it learn? How will it handle the huge amount of data, that is image data, where each image has certain size, certain dimension. So you can see that all these inputs are subjected, given as the input to the nodes, and then as I have explained you that it keeps on moving to the next nodes and all that. Then after input layer, you will get certain patterns, certain responses means certain associations, and those associations will go to the next layer. Possibly it will not include all the images as the whole images. It will try to extract the uniqueness, unique values or unique regions or unique characteristics of each image. So that may be anything. There are different face images, facial features. So those features will be extracted in this layer, and those features can be again trained for a different faces, by the next hidden layer, and accordingly there will be a model, that learning model. Then finally it will have an understanding that these are the features of these many images, and when this is a particular feature set, oh, this is the feature set for this particular person. So whenever next time during the testing process, this is still training process. During the testing process, the features of a particular person can be extracted, and those features can be matched against the features which are there in the database, and it can result whether the person, it can report whether the person is authenticated or not. So this is how it works. This is the diagram that demonstrates how a neural network works. It has input layer, it has output layer, it has hidden layers. So input layers take in a numerical representation of data, output layers output predictions, and hidden layers are correlated with most of the computation. So computation tasks, the requirement of large amount of computational complexity is attributed to the hidden layers. But how does the neural network perform a computation? This diagram tries to show it. So you can see here that x0, x1, x2 are the inputs which are given as the input to a node, where, as I told you, there will be certain activation function. Here you can see the activation function is wi xi, where I is the number of inputs. All right, and then x is the number of input. X is the input and w is the weight. I have told you weight of each. Suppose x0 will have certain weight here, x1 will have certain weight here. So that weight will be multiplied with the corresponding input, and then that will be summed up, and then you will provide certain bias. Bias is a kind of threshold or offset value which is used in the neural network, that either all the values may be elevated or maybe made down by a certain value, or any kind of biasing, any kind of elevation, any kind of thresholding, offsetting can be done using a suitable bias value. And then finally this output function, which is integration of wi xi plus b, is generated by this node. So this is a node which receives these three inputs with different weights, and then this node will produce certain response, and then this response goes to the next node of next layer. Again, this similar operation may take place, where the activation function may change, where the bias value may change, and accordingly we will get the different outputs at that particular, at the output of that particular node. So tunable weight and bias parameters represented by W and B. In that equation, W is the weight and B is the bias. Why they are called as tunable? Because They can be tuned, they can be adjusted, they can be updated. So you can choose any bias value, you can choose any weight value, and accordingly the learning, the impact of learning, the response would change. So what is our objective? Objective is to achieve the desired response. So we can keep on updating the weight and bias values until we get the expected response. This is needed to the actual learning process of deep learning algorithm. This is very important. After neural network passes inputs to weights to the outputs, when the input passes to the output, way to the outputs means maybe the next layer, which is on the way to the output layer. The network evaluates how good its prediction was using certain, function. How correct is the prediction by that layer? It will be evaluated. There are many again metrics which are used to evaluate the prediction whether it went wrong by comparing with the expected output. So sometimes we also call it as a loss function. Why? Because it's not exactly what we are expecting. So there will be some difference. So what is the difference? Difference is the loss. So that loss is indicated by that error. So we can also call it as a loss function or error signal or error function. Okay. So this is one example here, mean squared error, MSE, most popularly used error function in the huge number of signal processing based applications. MSE is very, very popular. Either we calculate signal to noise ratio, picture signal to noise ratio, noise quality, classification result, segmentation result. This MSE is very, very commonly used attribute or a parameter. So the MSE can be calculated as mean means 1 upon n. There are n values. So therefore we are taking average. We are summing all the n values and then dividing by n. So this mean y squared error is yi minus yi cap. So the actual minus expected difference then square is squared error and then mean 1 by n sum of n. So this is one standard expression. You can take the difference between the two outputs, actual and expected, square it, obtain square of it, then sum it, and just obtain sum for all the values, all possible combinations. Then divide by the number of combinations. It will give you mean square error. Minimum mean square error will be the point where we will stop learning, and whatever is the response created will be considered as the best possible response trained by the neural network. So to minimize the loss, I'm sorry, to minimize the loss, to minimize the error signal or error function, the weights and biases are adjusted. I already told you how do we obtain the response which is nearest to the expected response by checking the loss function, the minimum error, the error value. So when it is minimum, means we are nearest to the expected response. Until then, we'll keep on trying. Keep on trying means we'll keep on learning. Keep on learning means we'll keep on modifying the weights which are contributed by the different neurons, and then bias values also can be modified and adjusted until we reach to a condition where the error is minimum and the response is optimal. A back propagation neural network, which is the gradient descendant neural network, it is also used for updating the weights and biases, as its name suggests, back propagation. So it backtracks. You can see here back propagation means it is again going back and modifying the weights until we get the difference in the desired value what we are expecting. Otherwise, we'll go back again and again, and then we'll modify, again come forward, right? Move forward until we reach to the minimum error condition, the optimal response condition. By that time, we'll keep on modifying, backtracking, modifying, backtracking, updating. That's how we will work. Every iteration of backpropagation should result in a smaller loss function. So iteration means we again go back, then again come forward. So going back, coming forward is an iteration. So we can increase our number of iterations, but In each iteration, the loss function has to be minimized, has to be reduced. If there is a iteration but it's not minimizing, there is no use of that iteration. So we have to backtrack in such a manner that each and every iteration must aim at reducing the loss function or the error value. So that property is there in the neural network called as backpropagation neural network. As its name suggests, backpropagation. It propagates back, adjusts the weights and biases, again comes forward, and the response is calculated. So the deep learning, as I told you in the beginning, deep part refers the neural network with large amount of layers. In the beginning only I told you, deep means depth. Depth means more number of hidden layers. So the large amount of layers with the addition of more weights and biases, all the layers have their biases, all the layers have their weights. So you have probabilities of so many weight providing functions, weight providing neurons, weight adjusting nodes and layers. There the weights can be adjusted, can be modified, can be manipulated, even the bias values can be changed, and we can improve the performance of the network. So neural network improves its ability to approximate more complex functions. The complex functionalities, the complex signals, the large amount of signals can be simplified, and approximately better response, improved response will be obtained by using the deep neural network. So there is one example called as convolution neural network, which is a most popular example of deep neural network, where you can see what happens actually. Convolution nonlinearity is there, nonlinear functions are there, which are convolutions. They are computed of this image. Then there is a pooling. Pooling is a kind of sharing, the resources. You can just take an example of car pooling a taxi, rather than hiring a taxi for one person. One common taxi can be hired for 3 persons, and the same taxi can, take those 3 passengers and drop to their destinations. And this is how there will be saving of resources. Although slightly, more time will be required for a particular passenger, but effectively the usage of resource is better. So what happens that maybe there are 2 persons whose destinations are almost in same area, maybe 2-minute distance or 5-minute distance by taxi. So it's almost that kind of resource utilization, resource sharing can be achieved, and this is what is called as pooling. So we can pool, and therefore you can see that you will reduce some dimensionality also, because dimensionality is a big problem. So dimensionality is reduced to some extent, and then it goes to next layer, where there will be fully connected layers will be also there, that all the layers will be completely connected, and then that at the output of at the final layer of the network, you will understand that this is a bird, or this is sunset is there, then there is a dog or something. So whatever objects are there in the images, in the input, can be categorized by learning, by understanding appropriately. And when we discuss about deep learning, as I told you in the beginning, deep learning versus what machine learning. So how is different? How different is deep learning as compared to machine learning? We have in fact discussed deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning is a broad category, right? There are hundreds of machine learning methods. Deep learning is one of them. It has a deep architecture which utilizes hierarchical level of artificial neural networks to carry out the process of machine learning. Hierarchical level of AI, artificial intelligence. As I told you that it can train, it can learn, it can extract the suitable amount of information that need the learning, and it can provide the ability to understand, ability to classify. So that representation, that structuring in a hierarchical manner, in a structured manner, can be made possible in the network. So this is how the deep learning is different than that of the traditional machine learning. The ANN, artificial neural networks, are built like human brain with neuron nodes connected together like a wave. That's a common thing, common discussion, common point about ordinary neural network. While traditional programs build analysis with data in a linear way, the hierarchical function of deep learning systems enable machines to process the data with a non-linear approach. So the calculations, the associations with inputs and outputs, and among the hidden layers, the associations are not mostly linear. They will be mostly non-linear. See, when it is a linear, the probability of modification, the probability of updates and adjustments will be less. Means it all depends on input. So inputs are getting modified, and accordingly there will be, outputs will be modified in a linear manner. So whatever is done in non-linear manner, the weights which are contributed, they are not modified in a linear manner, right? They can be modified using some non-linear suitable functions until we get, as I told you in the previous slide, minimum error, minimum loss function, or optimal response, the nearest response to the expected output or expected response. This is a beautiful, example of, as I told you in the beginning, in the, in giving an overview, giving an outline of the talk, that driverless car is a beautiful example, is a brilliant example of, the deep learning, that is deep neural network. Why you can understand, see that these cars which are, moving on the road, and they are facing so many other vehicles, buildings, roads, different conditions of road, trees, passengers, different types of vehicles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and the people who may be crossing the road on some particular part. So all these are huge, and as it passes the road, as it passes the distance, it again keeps on sensing, keeps on acquiring those data, and those data keep on changing dynamically. So the dynamic nature of input, large amount of input, makes the entire data set very complex, which is simplified by the driverless car, and it's only possible because of its learning capability. It's because of training capability, which is simplified and facilitated by the deep neural architecture. There are a number of different types of deep neural architecture. So suitable neural network architecture is used in self-driving car, and therefore the huge amount of data can be processed, can be interpreted, can be comprehended. The features can be appropriately extracted. Those features could be employed in the learning process, and then feature representation and vectors could be created, and based on those representations and vectors, authentication or identification of an object, and the distance between the two vehicles, or distance between the current vehicle and the next vehicle, can all be estimated, and accordingly it can maintain the speed and the direction and orientation and all that. So this is a brilliant example of computer vision driverless car that employs deep learning to the great extent. We would say that without deep learning, driverless car cannot be imagined. You cannot, implement on real-time basis, real-time capturing the data and then taking the decision and moving on the road. It's impossible without using a deep neural network, a deep kind of machine learning architecture. There are other examples, other applications areas like medical imaging. The tumor can be detected, tumor region can be extracted, the classification of tumor, whether there is any abnormality present in the brain images. Is the abnormality representing cancerous? Is it representing a tumor? If it is tumor, what stage the cancer is? What is the dimension of tumor? What is the dimension of cancerous area? All these computer-aided diagnosis in all modern health care and diagnostic systems, these learning, that is machine learning methods, are of great importance. And if it is a deep learning, because see, in the hospitals there is a lot of data is involved, a lot of medical data, a lot of medical image modalities are stored in the database, subjected to the CAD systems, and therefore it becomes very difficult to classify and analyze. And therefore, medical imaging and analysis, disease prediction, smart health record these days, We are talking about electronic health record, digital health record, where even after a certain number of years based on a particular medical data, the person's history, the person's possible course of diagnosis can be analyzed, can be classified or simplified on the basis of digital health records, drug discovery and manufacturing, drug manufacturing, protein synthesis, DNA analysis, personal medicine treatment, disease identification and diagnosis are these are very emerging areas where the deep learning is said to be employed, is rather being employed in order to augment the performance of these different applications. The architectures which are, as I told you, that CNN is the most popularly used, but there are architectures like CNN, convolutional neural network, recurrent neural network, generative adversarial neural network, recursive neural network are the important deep neural architectures of deep learning. This is the architecture of CNN called as convolutional neural network. I have already explained in previous slide that you can see that after computing a number of convolutions of the input data, it gets feature maps, because by computing convolutions itself, it gets the feature sets or feature vectors. And then there is subsampling, there is some downsampling, rather, as I told you, that pooling operation takes place. So that pooling operation is nothing but this subsampling or downsampling. So we reduce the data also. There is reduction of data dimensionality. Then there is a reduced feature map. Again, we can calculate convolutions. We can apply the subsampling or downsampling in a repeated manner. And finally, we'll reach to some fully connected networks where all the feature maps which are well associated, which are well connected with all the nodes of the output layer. From there, this is what is the final, the maps which are stored in which can be stored in the database of feature vectors or database of templates. And this is how it trains the data, and then it keeps the knowledge about the trained data, right? And based on that knowledge in future, it can authenticate or it can classify the next object which is given as the input to this layer by again repeating the process. This is a recurrent neural network. You can see that we know that it's deep when the number of layers is 1. Recurrent means again, at certain nodes, at certain selected nodes, there is a recurrent means something, we are going back and we are doing something. So at certain nodes, we can go back and then we can adjust the weights, we can update the weights, and then until and unless we, we obtain most optimal classification result, most optimal identification result. By that time, we'll keep on updating. So it's an example of a recurrent. The advantages of deep neural network is the first one is the ability to identify patterns and anomalies in large volumes of raw data. It empowers deep learning, it enables deep learning to efficiently deliver accurate and reliable analysis result. The response, the analysis, the classification result which we obtain by using deep neural network is the reliable, is the accurate. The error becomes very, very less. For example, there is one example, Amazon has more than 560 million items on the web, to sell, more than 560 million. More than 300 million users are there. So no human accountant or a person can handle all these data, and can track all transactions associated with these many products and these many customers. So it's based on AI tool, artificial intelligence based tool. So in the different Google apps, Google applications, Amazon applications, Facebook, they're all using, social media analytics, data analytics applications. The deep architectures are used so that huge amount of information can be simplified and the proper understanding can be developed. So deep learning doesn't rely on human expertise as much as traditional machine learning, because it's a representation learning. It's a structured learning. It doesn't mimic the way human brain learns. It learns itself and it optimizes itself until unless it provides some optimal response. So that's good quality in the deep neural network. This is one comparison. You can see amount of data is there. Large amount of data, as amount of data increases, the performance becomes better and better in the deep learning. If the amount of data is very less, maybe the other conventional machine learning method may be better. But after crossing certain amount of data, when it becomes huge, conventional machine learning would simply collapse in terms of processing time required, in terms of storage requirement, and there what can survive is the deep learning and can perform optimally and can provide optimal response with minimum error. So this lecture is all about deep learning, which is an emerging method of neural network which can handle large amount of data used in a number of emerging applications like driverless car, computer vision, and many others where the huge amount of data can be trained, and that too with not very significant amount of time. And accurate and reliable systems are also developed with the help of the deep learning. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you.